Hi, my name is Dawn Larson. I'm business advisor with Navigator Marketing, and I wanted to share with you today, this week, November 16th to 22nd, is National Global Entrepreneurship Week. And boy, there's a lot of entrepreneurs in the world, and I'm sure if we ask this question to them, what are 5 things you wish you did when you first started business, we'd get some great answers. But today I'm just going to share 5 things that I wish I had done when I first started in business in, say, 2002. Now I do them, and they produce amazing results, but I wish I would have started them right from the beginning. So, in establishing your business and growing your business, you're going to have a lot of things pulling at you, and you're going to have a lot of people pulling at you. And these 5 things, I personally think are so important and have proved to me that, as I adhere to these and we grow our businesses, I find that, these have really paid off for me and my business along the way. So let's get started. So number 1, I suggest that no matter what, that you find mentors in the community. I, was a little shy at the beginning because I wanted to go out and I'd meet people in business and say, wow, I'd really like to learn from that person. But, he's a newspaper executive, or this person's run car dealerships and, he doesn't want to talk to me. But I quickly realized that people genuinely want to help. And so it's really interesting because when I first came to this new community and opened a business in this city, I didn't know anyone. I'd moved my head office from one city to another, and I had to get connected really quickly to grow my business. And so one thing I did was I reached out to a whole bunch of people and said, I'm new to the city, a new business person, and this is a little bio on me. I'd love to take you out for lunch. If you could kind of help me understand and know the city a little bit and the businesses, I'd really appreciate it. So I did this. I invited 50 people out of the community that I'd found online. It's not really hard to find go-getters in every community. And so I invited these 50 people for lunch, at different times of the month. And out of that, there was 39 that said yes right away, that yes, I'd love to go for lunch with you. And so this was great. They didn't know me. I was new to the city. So every week I would go out for lunch with some of these new people, and it was so great. Out of 39 people, 38 of them actually brought me for lunch, but I had invited them for lunch. So see how cool it is when you just step out of your comfort zone and you look for mentors. So out of that, those people were very, very helpful in giving me some really good input and business intelligence about the community that I was, establishing my head office in. And it was very powerful because people would call me up to go to events, and, they'd be very instrumental in introducing me to people. Then after they made the introduction, they kind of let it be up to me to make sure that, I was making connections and building relationships. But out of that initial contact with those 39 people, 7 years later, I am on boards and committees, and really quite quickly, within a year or two, I was president of organizations, and I was getting some incredible business referred to me out of a result of just making those connections. So mentors are very important. So that's one way to use a mentor on a regular basis, or on a first-time basis. But on a regular basis, you could invite somebody out for lunch and just say, you know what? Tell me what I need to know. What's one thing that's important that you wish you knew when you first started out in business? And, I do this on a monthly basis. I ask somebody in business to go out for lunch with me, and I ask that one question, and I get a different answer all the time. Just last week, I asked a person who had been a retired newspaper exec, and I asked him to go for lunch. Great information. He gave me 3 tips that I never considered, and I implemented 2 within the first 2 weeks of, having lunch with him. I emailed him back to say, wow, those are really successful tips, and thank you very much, and I'd love to have lunch with you again. He said, I love helping businesses, and I so rarely get asked, thank you for the opportunity. I thought that was really cool. So that is a really important tip that, I didn't start out in business doing that. I actually waited till I was in business 12 years before I started that. Now I never look back, and I'm always doing that. And, that's the great part, is it doesn't have to be when you just start out in business. This is something that established entrepreneurs, when you want to take your business to the next level, or like I did, expand to a new community, it's, something so simple to do. So number 2, and this is really important, as much as you think your business is the most important thing to you, and I've heard this from so many entrepreneurs, make sure that you keep and preserve time for family and friends. I've heard CEOs, I used to run a sort of a lunch and learn, it was called People of Interest. And I'd invite, established business people from the community to talk to 20 or 30 business people about 20 minutes about their life and what they learned in their journey as an entrepreneur. And time again, established business people said, I started my business because I wanted to do so much for my family. I wanted to give them so much, but I worked so hard in my business that I, never had time for them. And in the end, I realized that all they really wanted from me was my time. And, they really didn't care how much money we had. And as entrepreneurs, we kind of lose sight. We're working till 1, 2 in the morning, getting up at 5. We're exhausted. We're short-tempered sometimes. But your family and your friends are really important. And that's an important thing to keep as a perspective. And number 3, celebrate your successes. As entrepreneurs, we're driven. We're always looking for, the next week, the next month, the next year. And sometimes we lose sight of the big successes or little successes we've had along the way. And so I make a point of when I have achieved a success, I buy something small for myself. Sometimes it's jewelry. Sometimes it's a card. Sometimes it's a small piece of art. It's never expensive, but when I pass it, I recognize what that success is. It tweaks in my mind, and it reminds me that I've achieved a lot along the way. And number 4, every year, and this is so important, every year I draft a strategic plan. Now, it sounds complicated. It really isn't. It's sort of like this. On New Year's Eve, I sit down, or New Year's Day, I sit down with my thoughts and I say, okay, what went really well last year? What do I hope I never repeat from last year? What are some of the things I'm so grateful for about last year? And I divide that from personal, business, and then I say, okay, what are some things I'd like to achieve for the future? And then I sort of say, well, how do I break that down into some goals? So there's some numbers and dates and actions attached to it. And then I kind of make that action plan. And that strategic plan usually ends up being like 3 pages with bullet points. And I usually come up with 5 things. I want to grow my sales. I want to make my customers happier. I want to, build my processes to be more efficient. Those are some examples of the business sort of strategies. And then I work out how I'm going to do that. And then I work out, the numbers and the dates. By this date, I'm going to do this. That is my 5-page document I keep on my desk on a regular basis. And every morning or every week, I look at it and I go, okay, that's, I'm on track for this. And, if you're fortunate enough to have a few minutes at night, I actually journal just to see what, how I've made progress along on that strategic plan. But it's really important. You cannot manage what you don't measure. And so a strategic plan really helps you to measure out, how much or how well you're doing along the year. And then the last thing that's really important, I'm a visual person, and I always create a vision board. So again, around the time just before New Year's, I look through magazines and I find things, pictures of images that really, kind of resonate with me. And this year I looked at my vision board that I started, just December 31st, 2015. And there was only 2 things on my vision board that I didn't achieve. And how crazy is that? Because some of them were like, one of the things I put on the vision board and I didn't even know how I was going to do it was that we were going to win Web Design Agency of the Year. And I'm like, I don't even know if there's like a competition in our community about that. And lo and behold, we win it a couple months ago. And so it's really great. And, one of them was I was going to, buy a sports car and it said really great price. Not just the sports car, it was going to be at a really great price. Well, I can tell you, I got a really great price on a sports car this summer. So what you see and what your mind sees every day when you pass that vision board really sets the seed, right? And I have it for that I was going to, launch a magazine, and that I was going to start, a couple of different projects. I was going to get 6 paid speaking engagements because I had a picture of me at the podium speaking. All of those were achieved this year, but that visual reinforcement really makes a difference. So those are some of my tools that I wish I had started when I first started being an entrepreneur, but I am so glad that I'm using them now. And they really help me make sure that I'm doing well in my business, but also that I have a little bit of balance in my life. So happy National Global Entrepreneurship Week, and I hope much success in your business. Thanks.